The sound of her heels echoed through the hallway, but today, it wasn't the confident click that everyone had come to recognize. Today, it was a limp, the distinct sound of a broken heel, marking her entrance into the office. A few colleagues snickered under their breath, sharing quick glances, whispering among themselves about how unprofessional it all seemed. She didn't fit the mold. The sharp-dressed, polished woman they expected to see at the top had somehow slipped. Her heels were a symbol of her failure, or so they thought. But what they didn't know was the woman standing there had been underestimated countless times. They didn't see the drive behind her eyes, the fierce determination she carried in her heart. Those broken heels weren't a sign of weakness. They were the mark of someone who'd been knocked down and was about to rise higher than they could imagine. The whispers followed her as she walked to her desk, the laughter still echoing in the air. Little did they know, this was the last time they would see her in this office. Today, she wasn't just walking with broken heels, she was walking with a purpose. In just a few hours, she would step into the CEO's office, and nothing would be the same after that. But why was she going there? What did she have planned? Was this the moment of her breakthrough or just another setback? You'll have to stay tuned to find out what happened next. The office was buzzing with the usual energy, people rushing from one task to the next, laptops clattering, phones ringing. But for her, everything felt still. Her mind wasn't focused on the tasks at hand, or the stares from the colleagues who thought her broken heels were a sign of failure. No, she had something far bigger on her mind. For the last few months, she had been quietly gathering information, building connections, and planning every step with precision. She knew what was at stake, and she couldn't afford to mess it up. Her journey hadn't been easy. She'd spent years working her way up from the very bottom, always overlooked, always fighting to prove her worth. The company had been her world, but it hadn't always felt like home. She had been passed over for promotions, dismissed in meetings, and all the while, her ambition was growing stronger. She wasn't going to wait for anyone's permission to succeed. The time for patience had passed. She had earned her place, and now she was going to claim it. As she sat at her desk, the usual chatter from the office seemed to fade away. She had a meeting scheduled with the CEO in just an hour. The thought of it made her heart race, but there was no turning back now. This was the moment, the one she'd been waiting for. If she could convince him of her vision, show him what she was truly capable of, everything would change. But what if he didn't listen? What if he dismissed her like everyone else had? As she checked her watch, her pulse quickened. She stood up, smoothing the wrinkles from her blouse. Today, nothing was going to stop her. But what would happen when she stepped into that office? Would she be given the chance she'd been craving, or would her broken heels end up being the least of her worries? Her hand trembled as she adjusted her blazer, staring at the door to the CEO's office. It was just down the hall, but it felt like 1,000 miles away. She had prepared for this moment for weeks, yet doubt still lingered like a shadow. What if he rejected her idea? What if he saw her as just another ambitious employee trying to climb the ladder, not realizing the years of hard work that had led her here? As she took a deep breath and walked toward the door, she couldn't shake the memories of the countless times she had been dismissed. The side glances from her coworkers, the quiet scoffs, the passing comments about her ambitious nature. Most people didn't take her seriously, especially the men in the office. They'd assumed she'd burn out, but she was just another hopeful trying to make it in a world dominated by others. But they didn't understand. They didn't know how hard she'd fought to get where she was. Inside the CEO's office, the tension was palpable. The man sitting behind the desk was everything she wasn't: older, established, and confident in ways she still hadn't fully mastered. His gaze was steady as she explained her vision, her idea that could change the course of the company. But something in his eyes made her wonder if he was already dismissing her. In the back of her mind, she could almost hear the mocking whispers of her colleagues. Was this just a waste of time? Would this be another failed attempt? Or was this the chance she had been waiting for? She glanced at the door one last time, the weight of the decision ahead of her growing heavier. What if this meeting ended just like all the others? Another closed door, another dead end. Would she be able to keep pushing forward, or would this be the moment that broke her? The room was quiet, too quiet. Her voice, though steady, seemed to echo against the walls as she laid out her plan, every word carefully chosen. The CEO sat across from her, his fingers tapping lightly on the table, his expression unreadable. She couldn't read him. Was he impressed, indifferent, or worse, was he already writing her off? Her mind raced. She knew this idea could transform the company, revolutionize their product, bring in new clients. But did he see it the same way? She had seen his eyes wander a few times, his gaze briefly flicking toward his phone, then back to her. Was he bored, disinterested, or was he calculating something in his mind, weighing the risk of taking a chance on her? As she continued speaking, the weight of the room pressed down on her. Her palms grew clammy, her heart pounding in her chest. The clock on the wall seemed to tick louder with every passing second. She could feel the doubt creeping in, just beneath the surface, threatening to take over her thoughts. She had prepared for this moment, so why did it feel like she was losing ground with every word? Suddenly, the CEO stood up, walking toward the window. He didn't look back at her. The silence stretched on, unbearable. She swallowed hard, her breath shallow, unsure of what was happening. Was he walking away? Was he about to turn her down, just like everyone else had? Her mind spun, replaying every failure, every time she'd been told she wasn't good enough. But she wouldn't let that happen now. This was her moment, and she couldn't let it slip away. The CEO finally turned, his gaze meeting hers for the first time since she'd entered. His face was unreadable, but something in his eyes gave her pause. Was this it? Was this the turning point? The CEO's eyes held hers for a moment, but then something unexpected happened. He smiled, just slightly, but enough to throw her off balance. It wasn't the smile of approval she had anticipated. It was almost as if he knew something she didn't, something that was about to change everything. Her heart skipped a beat. "Interesting idea," he said slowly, his voice colder than before, "but I'm afraid you're not the first to bring it up." Her stomach dropped. The room suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He leaned back, folding his arms across his chest. "You've been working hard, but you're not the only one with big ideas. We've been considering a similar strategy for months now. In fact," he continued, "we're already in talks with someone who's been in the industry much longer than you, someone with more experience." Her mind went blank. The tension in the room intensified as the CEO's words settled in. The idea she thought was her ticket to the top wasn't original at all. She had been blind to the fact that someone else had been in the race long before her, and now they were on the verge of taking it all. Her moment of glory was slipping away, faster than she could grasp. Her pulse quickened as her thoughts swirled in a panic. Had she just wasted all this time? Had her strategy been nothing more than a recycled concept? She forced herself to focus, to stop the panic from taking over. "Who is it?" she asked, the words feeling like an admission of failure. The CEO's eyes narrowed, a glint of something dangerous in them. "You'll find out soon enough. But now, the real question is, what are you going to do about it?" Her heart raced, her breath shallow as the CEO's words hung in the air like a dark cloud. But then something shifted. She refused to let fear take control. She wasn't going to walk away from this, not after everything she'd put into it. She looked him straight in the eye, pushing down the anxiety gnawing at her chest. "Whoever they are," she said, her voice firmer than she felt, "I'm still the best option. I'm not backing down. Not now." The CEO paused, studying her carefully. A long silence stretched between them, the kind that felt like it could break at any moment. He finally leaned forward, his tone changing, no longer cold but almost intrigued. "That's the spirit I was hoping to see," he said, "because honestly, I wasn't sure if you'd have it in you." Her mind spun, trying to make sense of his words. Was he testing her? Playing some kind of game? she was about to ask when the unexpected happened. He slid a thick folder across the table toward her. She hesitated before opening it, her fingers trembling slightly. Inside, the documents were clearly marked, confidential, and do not distribute. The first page made her freeze. It was the exact same plan she had presented to him, except this one had been signed, dated, and outlined in far more detail. She looked up at him, confused. He leaned back in his chair, the corner of his mouth curling into a smile. That's right. The idea was yours, but you weren't the only one working on it. You see, the person I've been speaking with was none other than your biggest rival in the office. She blinked. Her heart skipped again. You mean? Yes, he interrupted, your colleague who's been quietly pulling strings behind your back. But here's the twist. You've been playing a far more dangerous game than you realized. The real question now is, will you use what you've learned today to turn the tables? She sat there for a moment, processing the bombshell he had just dropped. Her colleague, the one who had always been so friendly, so supportive, had been working behind her back, quietly positioning themselves for the same opportunity. The feeling of betrayal hit hard, but beneath the sting, something else flickered, an understanding that this was exactly the test she had needed. The CEO hadn't just handed her a failure, he handed her a chance to show who she truly was. Do you want to know what happens next? The CEO asked, breaking her thoughts. She didn't hesitate. Yes, I want to know how I can turn this around. His smile deepened. I'm offering you a choice. You can walk away, let them take the credit, and fade into the background, or you can fight for what you deserve. The door is open, but it's up to you to walk through it. That idea, your vision, it's still yours. But now you have to decide whether you'll let someone else take it from you, or if you'll stand up and claim it. The words hit harder than she expected. This was the moment. Not just to prove her worth to the CEO, but to prove it to herself. With a deep breath, she nodded, standing up with newfound resolve. I'm not walking away. This is my idea, and I'm going to make it happen. As she walked out of the office, the weight of the situation no longer felt like a burden, it felt like power. She was ready to take on whatever came next. The game had changed, and now it was her turn to rewrite the rules. Her broken heels were no longer a symbol of failure. They were the marks of someone who had fought her way to the top, and who was ready to climb even higher. The real journey had just begun.